Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. There are millions and millions of entrepreneurs in the world who own their own businesses, but there are just a very few really great entrepreneurs in the world, relatively speaking. And you could probably break it down into the 99% and the 1%. People often ask me, well, what makes someone 1%, the truly great entrepreneurs? And I said they just have one activity that differentiates them from everyone else. And that one activity is that they don't guess about whether they're offering in the marketplace, whatever it is that they're selling, they don't guess about whether their customers, their prospective customers, their clientele are going to find what they're receiving useful. They actually test. They're always testing. So when they get a new idea, they don't keep the idea secret to themselves. And I'll talk about their inside their company being backstage. And I'll use another term, front stage, meaning out in the marketplace. They don't keep their ideas backstage and try to prepare them and try to get them ready and package them correctly and make them really look good and then possibly test with focus groups to see if they're really good. What they do is that they'll get a napkin and they'll draw a picture of what they're thinking and maybe put a few words with it, and they'll go out and talk to a potential customer or client, and they'll say, I'm thinking about this, and I just wondered whether this would be valuable to you, and they explain it to them. And then if the person doesn't understand, they know they have to be clearer about it, and so they draw another picture on another napkin, and they get it clearer. And then they have a conversation about it, and they ask questions, well, how would you find this valuable? How would this be bigger and better and different from anything that you're doing? And they do this kind of testing day in and day out, and then they bring the napkin back, and maybe it goes into a more formal picture, which is computer graphics are used to picture it, but not too much more, just one sheet of paper. And then they'll go out into the marketplace, and they'll talk to 1, 2, or maybe 10 more people, and they'll get more information, and then they'll grow their idea, and then they'll add words to it, and then maybe they'll turn it into a diagram that's on a sheet of paper that's twice as big, and then they'll explain the diagram. And what they're doing is that they're actually using the marketplace. They're actually using the very potential prospects and clients who would buy their product or service. They're using them as creative partners. They're turning the marketplace into their creative department, the actual people who are actually going to give them everything they need to make their new idea a outstanding marketplace success. And the vast majority, 99% of entrepreneurs, are too frightened to actually do this. There's all sorts of things that come with their fears. One of them is that it doesn't seem big enough. I mean, just a diagram, why would anyone want to talk to me about a diagram? So that's a fear they have. Another thing they have is, well, it might be such a great idea that the person would actually steal it, and I would lose my idea. And the other one is that it doesn't look professional enough. If it was really an important idea, it would have really great artwork, it would be packaged correctly. So the 99% have an increasing number of worries and concerns which sufficiently discourage them from actually going out into the marketplace and actually making the marketplace into their creative partner. So the great difference between the 1% great entrepreneurs and the 99% who aren't great entrepreneurs, I'm not saying they're not successful, they're just not great. They don't do anything new. I mean, they more or less do what other people have done, and they're not really original. And as a consequence of not being original, they don't create any extraordinary new value in the marketplace that allows them to make 10 times more, 100 times more, maybe 1,000,000 times more than anyone else. The great failing on the part of these other individuals is that they just lack the courage to go out and actually continually recruit actual prospective customers and clients as the main members of their creative team. Anyone can do this. It requires, maybe a budget for lunch or a budget for dinner or even a budget for coffee in the morning, and engage someone in a conversation about a new idea that you've diagrammed on a napkin. So you have all these business colleges and universities that teach about how you're successful in business, but I've never once ever seen any professor at any university, I've never seen any business magazine just say that when you get a new idea, the first thing you want to do is draw a picture of the idea, sort of a little diagram that shows beginning, middle, and end of a value creation process, maybe a few words, and someone goes out and does this. But the greatest businesses in the world actually started on a napkin. And it's this constant movement back and forth of actually growing an idea by including more and more potential prospective clients and customers in the growing of your idea, which produces the very best ideas, the greatest ideas in the world. And the people who do this are the greatest entrepreneurs in the world. And the only separating factor that separates the 1% great entrepreneurs from the 99% who are just more or less ordinary entrepreneurs is just the courage to go out and create partnerships by including every prospective client or customer in the actual creative process of developing and constantly improving on your great new idea.